And I kind of just wanted to talk about the zone versus rough country for a bit because I owned both. Last year I had a 3-inch rough country lift with the Adaleaf, and this year I have a 4.5-inch lift with full leaf springs. They're Fox Adventure Series shocks, and I want to go through and see and just talk about them. So I want to talk about rough country for a little bit. And so the rough country lift I had was the Adaleaf back here. And honestly, spend the extra $200 and get the full leaf. Because this thing had like 200,000 miles at the time, and it still had the little sag. And any X-Shay is going to have a little bit of sag back there. It was high enough mileage, and it was kind of a pain in the ass to put that rear leaf spring in. It wasn't hard, it was just a pain in the ass. Now the front springs were really easy. They were kind of hard to get in because they don't compress all that well. And that kind of moves us over to ride quality. Rough country, the ride quality wasn't the greatest. 2 out of 10. 3 out of 10, somewhere around there for ride quality compared to stock. It was so much stiffer, and that's how they lifted X-Shays, or they used to lift X-Shays, is just by a stiffer spring. And those stiffer springs got you your extra 3 inches of lift that you wanted, but made it ride worse. But it it actually made it handle better. If you guys know anything about tuning a sports car, typically it has stiffer suspension to handle better. Well, honestly, it kind of did that to this thing, which is kind of funny to think about. I used to live up there on top of the mesa, and had a windy road I drove up every morning and every evening to get to school. And it handled through those canyons beautifully. It was actually a really good handling thing for a lifted Jeep. So honestly, I didn't hate it. It made it kind of fun, and most of the roads are smooth, so you didn't have to worry about ride quality a whole lot. And it made it fun in the canyons, like I said, but you're sacrificing a lot of comfort too with it. Now the shocks that rough country gave you, they're like $50 a piece. They're really cheap, and they were really fucking stiff. Like, I could not compress them with my hands at all, and which is fine. I mean, it's kind of normal, but I feel like there should be a little bit of give. Like with these ones, I can compress like a quarter way through with my hands. And I feel like that's a good amount. But yeah, the shocks also had a big play in the stiffness of the ride. And I feel like maybe if you replace the shocks, the springs might be able to give a little bit more. Because this thing didn't flex bad with the rough country lift. Like, if I can flex it up onto that hill over there, it would flex. So I kind of think the shocks were just a little too stiff for the streets. But that's kind of my guess. But honestly, for the price that you pay, it wasn't a bad lift. $300 and a full lift. Hey, as a broke high school student, it worked perfectly fine. And it got me through 2 years. And I replaced it, and there's still nothing wrong with it. So people say that it's unsafe, shocks blow out and stuff. I didn't get any experience like that. I went on an overland trip for like 3 months of off-roading and on road. No issues whatsoever. It's just really the only cons was the ride quality. And honestly, the looks, the like the springs and all that, all the coating's kind of worn off, but not gonna hold that against them because my zone's doing that too, which is kind of hard to see. Okay, I'm back. I had to go find my dog. That was fun. But I guess we could talk about the Zone. And so far, I think Zone is way worth the money. I feel like it's about 40 to 50% better than Rough Country. And here's why. First, it rides a hell of a lot better on gravel roads, on dirt roads. And I can tell that it flexes a lot easier because the springs are a lot softer. Like, I can actually compress these springs with my bare hands to get them in there easier. So that kind of shows the tread quality is better. And then Fox is a renowned company. And yes, it isn't their most expensive shocks or their high quality shocks, but their Adventure series are pretty good. They're still nice. Now, you don't have to get these shocks. I don't think they're really the best, but I do think they're better than the factory Zone ones. So I think it's better just at the price point of $700. Way better, and that's still with just the Adaleaf. I think the lift I had spec'd out was like $1,200-ish because I got the disconnects and the Adventure shocks and the full leaves in the rear. But I think with just the regular shocks, I think it was only like $1,000. Might have even been cheaper than that. So, yeah. And it doesn't handle as well as it used to with the Rough Country because it is softer. But I think that's also a part that I removed my rear sway bar. So it's still safe. It still handles good. It just handles more like a Jeep would. And so far, the powder coating is holding up. At least on my my control arms, they're holding up, and the springs seem to be a lot better. The only thing is, I would get their upgraded sway bar links instead of their base ones. They're and I'm not talking about the base non-removable ones, but these ones I used to have tons of trouble with them. With them just kind of rattling out and stuff like that. So I would go with their higher quality ones. Spend the extra $200 if you're gonna do that, because I don't really like those. And also, I recommend if you go more than 4.5-inch lift, just get new brake lines. Your car is at least 23 years old, so just get new brake lines, get the extended ones. Then you don't have to worry about the drop down brackets, which are a pain in the ass. And you don't have to go with the stainless steel ones like I did. Just save your money and get the rubber ones. It's a Jeep, it ain't no Ferrari. I just did it because it looks cool. But yeah, if I was going to do this all over again, I think I would go with maybe a 3-inch. I don't know if I really need all this 4.5-inch. The only reason I did it is so my tires would stop rubbing. But they only rubbed when I got these wheels. So if I was going to do this again, I think I'd only do the 3-inch lift from Zone, full leaf, stock wheels with the same tire, which is a 265/75/16. So that's kind of my ideal setup for a daily driver. 4.5-inch lift is great, but or 4.5. I think I said 4.5. I can't get rid of a little bit of bump steer. I even have the drop down arm, but it still has a little bit of bump steer, and I kind of accept it's going to be the way it is, because I think it might be the Rough Country heavy duty steering, but it also could just be that it's a 4-inch lift or 4.5-inch lift. And when I mean bump steer, it ain't shaking a lot. It just kind of, it's just like one little turn of the wheel when it hits a sharp bump really fast, like 65, 70. So that's my only complaint. Again, I don't think that's really the lift kit. That might be more the 1-ton steering from Rough Country reading, And also I'm running a rough country front stabilizer, and if I think I go with like a fox or a old emu, might eliminate that a little bit. But I don't know, I'm broke, so it's just gonna be like that for at least a few more weeks. Don't you guys look at your rig and think, man, I miss it being stock?